Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is John Faraclas from London on Friday, the 12th of September 2014. This is the news about the state of the markets as well as the state of the world, the politics, basically geopolitics affecting all markets, wet and dry, and of course, politics itself. The Baltic Dry Index closed down 5 points to 1,181, but that's up 26 since last week. That was been a turbulent week. There was a stagnation on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the market was again the same. Thursday started dropping. Friday started dropping. It reached even 1,197. So there's not much strength to the general index. The BCI closed down 24 points at 2,546, but that's up 63 since last week. Again, as you will see later on in a few seconds when we refer to the Baltic Panamax index, these two sizes and their volatility are affecting the markets. To what extent, you know it better from the freight that you're earning. The BPI was down 20 points at 875, which is also down 56 points since last week. So you see what I mean when I refer earlier on to these volatile sizes. The BSI was up, going from flat 1,000 to 1,006 points, which is also up 9 points since last week. The BHHI was just a point up at 477 and up 8 points since last week. Now, we have a downfall more or less and not enough strength to sustain the dry markets. The wet markets. The Baltic Index, I repeat, the Baltic Dirty Tanker Index was down 7 points at 647, which is also down 32 since last week. But that didn't happen on the clean ones, and the BCTI was up 1 point since yesterday and 1 point since last week. So we have very difficult markets ahead. The geopolitical issues do affect the markets, and you will see from our reporting what is going on. An important issue is that what has brought the markets to this extent is greediness. And according to MP Jesse Norman, has convinced the House that greediness is #1 situation which affects the world. Greediness has affected the shipping markets to all intents and purposes since 2008, and I dare say I was the first to put it officially this down at the then Mare and Terra magazine on spring 2008. It is important, and I wonder, is there any ship called greedy or greediness? You know, that's very important to know. On the world stage, Ukraine, more than a total mess. Still, of course, they're early days. NATO, is flexing its muscles, but same does Putin's Russia. So it is a very interesting melee, and in the cards we're going to see a lot of events taking place. Sanctions will never work, take my word. And we have said in previous reporting, the Russian, the Soviet people in the past, they had 72 years of austerity, of the socialism, communism in other words. They can sustain it, okay? It's the West that we are a bit more spoiled, that we cannot do it otherwise, and we're now hitting, and the contracts we have signed with Russian companies will affect us. The Middle East and its periphery, that's where the play begins to unfold now with ISIS. Everybody now wants an intervention, but I'm saying, like in the past, last week, what have we done the last 20 years, to stop this situation happening? And, that will upset us a lot. Libya, don't ask about Libya. I'm sure you understand what is more to come there. Europe continues to be on sort of becoming a great liability. Scotland, we're going to have in the middle of next week the yes or no vote. Whatever the result, there will be great repercussions. Greece also is in a verge. Of course, the Greek people, they like to go further ahead and get out of this austerity that they have been subjected by those Greeks that they are betraying their country. I have to say this. And whoever likes, I can take him live on television. And also the foreign factor who has lent the money out. That's very unfair, okay? The Far East, China, slows down. And this is an important issue. We heard in the middle of last week an interesting talk by the head of Costco, Shenzhen Yang, and can we still rely, on China? Well, it's a very difficult situation, and what will happen, will determine a lot of things in the world. The Far East in general is in tatters. Africa and the Ebola must be curbed. This is very, very interesting days, and I guess that we must make sure that all the efforts should be there for a medical intrusion to get rid of the Ebola, which is spreading. It's very important. Shipping is greatly affected on this, and already there are sanctions on ships not to reach various country shores. Now, there's a high alert about the ISIS, and all this traveling in and out. That's very important. Authorities worldwide, and politicians in particular, should have started checking things ever since the war in Afghanistan began, the war in Iraq began, what's going to happen. And of course, I might say, why not checking everybody traveling, under the pretext of various liberties, people are traveling, you don't know where they go, and then the politicians from the countries they begin their voyages are screaming and shouting, this is not on, we have to be very careful of what's going to happen. That's not on. On the other hand, we have a very major issue to repeat to our audience that is affecting greatly a lot about terrorism et al. This is illegal immigration, human trafficking, which is very, very important. And of course, the gateway, unfortunately, has become Turkey, a NATO country, a country within the periphery where all the troubles are there. We've heard in the news that the Turkish government is now trying to curb intruders et al. From becoming violent in the region. But the most important thing is that the Turkish Prime Minister, whose father was a Coast Guard, should have told him over the last 12 years more or less that he's in power as a Prime Minister to have an appropriate Coast Guard and guard the coast of his country, of not allowing the traffickers, some of them are Turkish officials and the military, and I know what I'm telling you, to come to the Greek waters, which are also European waters. And of course, you can read in the press how many times the Turkish military authorities, they have tried to intercept the airplanes of Frontex that they were checking every single issue from pollution to human trafficking, you name it, the Aegean Sea. So this is very important. And of course, it's not only Greece. Secondly comes Italy and Malta, of course, and then Spain, with all these gangs that they're trying to bring people to Europe. Now, they come as far as Afghanistan. So you can imagine this chain of fraud which is there. So we'd like to see an end to this. This is very inhumane. So I am saying that, things are not very, very rosy there. Now, coming back to some other important issues, this week we're going to have in London at Bloomberg's the 9th International Roadshow of the Athens Exchange. Ministers will come and have their say there and deliver keynote speeches. Watch this space. Capital Links event is coming up too, interestingly in less than a fortnight. So again, we're going to have amazing discussions there, and we see what's going to happen. The countdown for WISTA in Cyprus, the 34th International WISTA Conference is building up, and the world is focused on the island of Cyprus, Aphrodite's Island, where Despina Theodosiou and the team, as well as international speakers, will give their best to connect. And this is the catchword, connect. Shipping is connecting us. The 11th tip that we're going to give you is the island of Spetses, a very interesting island now at the end of the season, the island of Anargyros, who has created an amazing legacy there. Go there, have great time, scuba diving, nice food off of the season. Visit Anargyros College, the famous college we gave Prime Minister and many other leaders. And of course, amongst the other places where you can stay, the Posidonio Hotel, the jewel of the Belle Epoque, not only of Greece but of Europe, I might say, is there. Enjoy your holidays and be on guard, and I'm sure that you will see a lot of things that we have tell you quickly verbally in this live presentation. You can see them in writing in the site. Finally, as the New York fashion show ends, the London show has just begun, and of course we will hear from Helena Sardona in New York and others in London of these major events, where of course the buying power, because these shows mainly reflect on women, have the women in shipping, they have the ability and the capabilities to buy lovely things, lovely creations for the people who care. This is John Faraclas from allaboutshipping.co.uk in London. Have a lovely weekend. Over and out.